Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Anita Louise. Today I'm going to show you how I made this super cute little unicorn gift card holder. So if you want to see how I made this and crochet it along with me, stay tuned because we're getting started right now. All right, everybody, so we are ready to make our little unicorn gift card holder. Let's make sure we have all the supplies we need. So we will need white yarn for our unicorn, yellow or gold yarn for the horn. You'll need just a tiny bit of black yarn to embroider the eyes on, and 3 different colors for the flowers. We'll need a little button for the back in whatever size you like. I grabbed this one here for this one, so it could be a little smaller or a little larger, whatever you like. We will also need some scissors, our size 6 crochet hook, size G6. We will need a needle for stitching things together and embroidering the eyes and things, and then a slightly smaller needle for sewing the button on. And I like to use stitch markers, so a couple of those will be handy. I've got like 6 here altogether. You probably only need like 2 or 4. They're not required though, but I think they make it easier when you're marking out where you're putting the flowers and things like that. And I think that is all, y'all. So we are ready to get started. Let's put some of this stuff aside here. And all we need right now is our white yarn and our size G crochet hook. So we're going to start out by making our little slip knot. So I make a little slip knot like a pretzel. There we go. And we are going to chain 25. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. And now in the second chain from our hook, so here's the first chain from the hook, here's the second, we're going to put a single crochet. And then we are going to single crochet in each chain across. Here's 3, 4, 5, 21, 22, 23, 23, and 24. All right, so our first row is done. Now we're going to chain 1, turn it, and then we're going to single crochet in that first single crochet and in every one across. There's 2, 3 single crochets, 4 single crochets, and 5, and keep going all the way across. Alright, we're on our last 3. Here's 23 and 24. Okay, now we have completed row 2. Now you're going to continue on until you have 16 rows all together. So you'll need 14 more rows of single crochets across. And once you have finished your 16 rows, you should have a little rectangle just like this. Now you can pull your, actually you can snip your yarn, but snip it kind of long because we can use this yarn to stitch up our gift card holder at the very end. So pull your loop out and our little rectangle is complete. Now we can make our little unicorn horn. So we're going to set this aside for a moment. We're going to grab our hook and our yellow or gold yarn. So with our yellow yarn, we're going to make a magic circle. So drape the yarn over your fingers, wrap it around the back, crisscross it here, and then turn your hand over so you have 2 lines there. We're going to pass our hook under the first stripe of yarn and grab the second one, pull it through, and then we're going to grab that yarn again, pull it through to lock our magic circle. Now pull your fingers out. There we go. We are going to chain 1 and do 5 single crochets in our magic circle. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now I'm going to pull my magic circle closed. So grab that little end piece there, pull, pull, pull until your circle is closed. And once it's all closed, we're going to slip stitch into our first single crochet to close up our circle all around. There we go. Now round 1 of our horn is complete. Round 2, we're going to chain 1. We're going to do 2 single crochets in our first single crochet. There's 1, there's 2, and then we're going to single crochet in the remaining 4 single crochets. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then we're going to slip stitch into the top of our beginning single crochet. Here we go. All right, now for round 3, I'm going to chain 1, 2 single crochets in the first single crochet. There's a 1 and a 2, and then 1 single crochet in each of the remaining 5 single crochets. There's a 1, there's a 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5. And then we're going to slip stitch into our first single crochet once again. There we go. All right, for our next row, we're going to chain 1, 2 single crochets in the first single crochet, and then 1 single crochet in each of the remaining 6 single crochets. There's 2, there's 3, 3, and there's 6, and slip stitch into your first single crochet. All right, now for round 5, we're going to chain 1, 2 single crochets in your first single crochet, and then we're going to single crochet in the remaining 7 single crochets around. So there's 1, there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then slip stitch into our first single crochet. All right, now row 6, this one's a little bit different. We are going to chain 1, skip your first single crochet. You're going to single crochet into the next one, and then into the next 4 more. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So you should have chain 1, skipped stitch, and then 5 single crochets. Now in the next one, we're just going to slip stitch into the next single crochet. There we go. Now pull your loop out. You can snip your yarn. We're leaving the remaining stitches unworked. And you can leave this yarn a tiny bit long because we'll use that to stitch on too. To stitch it onto our little unicorn. And I'm going to take the end of this yarn and just push it up into my horn, or you can trim it off if you like, but I like to stuff it in there so it kind of stuffs the little horn. There we go. So our little unicorn horn is complete, and by leaving those remaining stitches unworked, it actually puts the little horn at an angle, so when you set it down on your unicorn, it doesn't lay perfectly flat. It kind of like sticks up a little bit, like up at an angle. So that's why we did that. Cute. So our horn is complete. Now let's move on to our ears. All right, so for this, we will need our white yarn and our crochet hook. We're gonna start by making a magic circle. So drape the yarn over your hands, wrap it around the back, make an X, and then wrap it around one more time. There we go. Slide your hook under the first bit of yarn, grab the second, and then grab the yarn again, and pull it on through to lock our magic circle. Now we are going to chain 1 and do 5 single crochets. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now we can pull our magic circle closed. Here we go, pull, pull, pull. All right, and now we are not going to slip stitch to close the circle all the way. We're actually going to chain 1 and turn it. So now in the first one, we're going to do 1 single crochet. In the next one, we'll do 2 single crochets. There's 1 and a 2. In the next one, we were doing half double crochet, half double crochet, all in this one stitch. So half double crochet, double crochet, and half double crochet. In the next one, we're doing the 2 single crochets again. There's a 1 and a 2, and in our last single crochet, we're doing 1 single crochet, and that is it. You can snip your yarn, leave it a little bit long because we'll use it to sew, and pull your loop out. There we go. We've got 1 cute little ear. So just repeat that so that you have 2 little ears for your unicorn. Now we are ready to make a couple of cute little flowers to put on our unicorn's little head. So I've got a couple already made. For this, we will need another color of yarn. I'm going to use purple for my last one, for my third flower. And I'm going to start by making a magic circle. Drape it over your hand, wrap it around the back, crisscross, and then wrap it over the back again. Grab your yarn, and then grab it again to lock it. All right, this flower is so easy. Are you ready? We're going to chain 2, 1, 2, double crochet into your magic circle. Chain 2, and then slip stitch into your magic circle. There we go. That's it. You're going to repeat that 5 more times to make 5 more petals. So you have 6 altogether. So chain 2, double crochet into your magic circle, chain 2, and slip stitch into your magic circle. Chain 2, double crochet into the magic circle, chain 2, slip stitch into your magic circle. I'm going to pull my magic circle closed just a little bit so I can see what's going on here. There we go. Starting to look like a flower. All right, chain 2, 1, 2, double crochet, chain 2, and slip stitch. All right, 2 more. Chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, slip stitch. Last one, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, and slip stitch. All right, now pull your loop out a little bit, snip your yarn, pull your loop out the rest of the way. Now we can pull our magic circle all the way closed. Give it a nice little tug so it's all the way closed. There we go. Now what I like to do here is flip my flower over, take my 2 pieces of yarn and tie them together. So I do just a little square knot. I do left over right, right over left, and then I snip right close to that knot. And that is on the back of my flower, so you'll never see it, so it's just fine. Now, in my little circle, I need a little center in my flower, I mean. I need a little center and some yarn so that I can tie it onto my unicorn. So I need my yarn needle with a little bit of yellow yarn in it, or whatever color you want the center of your flowers to be. And I'm going to take this into the back of my flower and pull it on up, leaving yarn hanging out of the back of it. I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to tie 2 little knots with my needle and my yellow yarn. So there's one, and then right on top of that yarn, or on top of that knot, I'm going to tie another little knot. There we go. Now I'm going to take my needle and drop it right back down the center of the flower, just like that. So the knot stays on top and my yarn is underneath on the bottom of the flower. There we go. Now I have my 3 flowers for my little unicorn. Cute. I will put those aside for now. All right, now we can grab our rectangle again because we're ready to start putting our unicorn together. So we're going to need to do some counting to figure out where these little pieces of our unicorn are going. So first, we're going to be using our horn. And I'm actually going to mark this out with yarn for you guys so that you can see kind of where everything is going. So I've got just a little piece of scrap yarn in my needle, and I'm just going to mark the center so you can kind of see where we're going. So I'm going to count over. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this is the very center of my work. So I'm going to slip right up the center. And this might be helpful for you too while you're working. And I'm going to make sure I keep it at the center along the top too. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there is the very center of my work. And this is just going to help for when I'm sewing on the horn and the ears and everything. So I know exactly where I'm going. There we go. So this is the very center. Okay. Swoopity-doo. Then, there we go. So so much easier. Now we know where we are. Okay, because this horn has to be centered right on her little head there. So our horn is going to be going in the center 4 stitches here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the stitches that we're going to be like stitching around when we put it on. So you're going to grab your little horn and you're just going to thread that needle with the extra yarn that you left on the horn. And we're just going to start stitching. So now remember that the horn is just a little bit angled. So place it so that it's angled like upwards on her face, not so that it's facing downwards. And you should be able to tell the difference because it will lay differently. Like you don't want it pointed down towards her eyes, you want it pointed up. So once you find the right positioning for it, you should be able to see where it's going. So we're just going to stitch along those top 4 stitches that we found, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to go down this stitch, move my purple marking yarn out of the way, and then up the next one and up the next stitch. And I'm just going to go kind of up and down, staying on those same 4 little stitches, making sure that I'm going through all of the stitches on my little unicorn horn. Just round and round so that it's all secured nicely. Once you've got it all stitched up, you could flip it over and your stitches might look like a little square. Mine look like an odd little shape. I guess I got another stitch involved there, but I think I'm pretty much around those 4 stitches there. And then you can just snip your thread off like so, and we are ready to move on to the next little bit of our project. So next we've got going on the flowers. So the flowers, I like to use the stitch markers for these because I stitch around stitches, like I put each flower on its own single crochet. So I like to count out 10 stitches from each side of the second row. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's my 10th stitch right there. I'm going to mark it. There we go. And then on the other side, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right there, I'm going to mark that one too, because that is where those flowers are going to go. And then my third flower goes right in the center, right below my horn. So I'm just going to mark the one that looks most center under my horn, which I think it's that one. There we go. So those are the stitches that my flowers are going to be wrapped around. So let's grab our flowers. Here we go. And I'm going to start with my pink one. How about? So for this I use my crochet hook. And I'm going to stick my crochet hook up on the one side of the stitch that the stitch marker is marking. And I'm actually going to move my marker because since I've got my hook there, I don't need to mark it. I know which stitch I'm using. So I'm going to grab one of the yellow sides and pull it on down. And then go to the other side of that single crochet that I marked. Pop my hook up and bring the yellow yarn down the other side of that crochet stitch, that single crochet. There we go. Pull it the rest of the way through. So I have the 2 yellow pieces of my flower, and I can go ahead and do a little square knot. Do a little right over left, little left over right. That is all, and snip my yarn. And I have 1 flower secured on there, right under my little unicorn horn. And there we go. I just have to repeat that process with the other 2 flowers. There we go. And snip. There. Now our little flowers are on. Let's give our unicorn some ears. So let's grab our little ears. All right, and once we've got our little unicorn ears, we might want stitch markers to mark where we're putting them. Let's see. So you're going to find the center 4 stitches of your little unicorn's head. So count over 10 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we can mark that 10th stitch. And then count 4 in the middle, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then mark that other side. Because those 4 in the middle, we are not going to stitch on at all. There we go, but we will be stitching our ears to the 4, to the side of the center 4. So the one that you marked, and then the next 3, 1, 2, 3, those are the ones that we'll be putting our ears on. Oh, there we go. And 1, 2, 3. So, yep, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 over here, 4 over here. 1 ear is going to be stitched across there, and 1 ear is going to be stitched across there. So we just need one of our ears and a needle. And we're going to thread the yarn, not that is the one from our magic circle, but the one that's on the side that we ended with. And we're just going to thread our needle. And there we go. And you can start on either side. I think I'll start on this side over here. And I'm just going to stitch. And then I can remove that marker because I know what stitch I'm in now. And there we go. There we go. I just go up and down and through those ears so that they're secured onto our unicorn's head. And I just kind of go over my magic circle yarn to kind of hide it and secure it. But we're going to snip it off in just a minute, so we're not going to need it. There we go, and I'll go all the way down to that 4th stitch right here, but don't go any further than that. That's as far as we want to go. Then we can remove that stitch marker as soon as we've gotten there. And there we go. Okay, now I like to weave my yarn in by turning my gift card holder over and just going through the bottom of my stitches on that top row. Just a couple of them. I'll go through 3 of them. There we go. Just pull that through and then snip it off. And then I'm also going to snip my magic circle yarn because we're all done with that too. And there we go. One cute little magic unicorn ear on. Now we get to do the other one. There we go. Now our little unicorn has a horn and ears and flowers. So lovely. She's looking beautiful. Now we need to give her some eyes. So we're going to count up 6 stitches from the bottom. And once again, I'm going to grab a little bit of scrap yarn to show you guys exactly where we'll be stitching and where we will not be stitching. So let me grab just a little bit more of this purple. And we're going to count up 6. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right along here. So our eyes are going to go right along the top of the 6th row. So I'm going to put my needle actually through the bottom up of that 6th row. And I'm going to mark off 4 stitches across. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So they're centered. So 2 on either side of my center line. I'm going to mark that off because that is going to be the space between my unicorn's eyes where we are not stitching. So we're going to mark that off so that we know our eyes will line up and we'll have an even space between them. There we go. So let's grab our black thread. Now to make our eye, we're going to do 2 little lines this way, 1 directly up and then 1 diagonal. So let's start by making our 2 little short lines to the side. There's 1. And there's 2. Now we're going to go directly up the stitch and then diagonally across the stitch. There we go. And that gives us a cute little unicorn smiling eye with little eyelashes. So cute. Now we're going to flip this over. I'm going to snip my black yarn and I'm just going to do a little square knot. Little left over right, right over left, and then snip this yarn, snip, snip. We have 1 eye all finished. Cute. Now we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. And left over right and snip my yarn. And now I'm going to get rid of all these purple lines because we don't need them anymore. There we go. Our unicorn is almost complete. Okay, so there's her cute little eyes with eyelashes. Yay! Now we need to create the little flap that is going to button our gift card holder. So flip your little card over and we can see the 4 stitches in the very center top, the ones that are in between our ears. And for those stitches, we're going to use our white yarn. And I'm just going to go over to the farthest stitch to the right of those 4. And I'm going to draw up a loop like this. And just chain 1. And I'm going to single crochet in the first one and in the next 3. So there's 1. Here's the 3rd one. There's the and there's the 4th one. Now I'm going to chain 1 and turn it. And I'm going to single crochet in the first one, the second one, the third one, and the fourth one. There we go. chain 1, and I'm going to repeat that again, turn it, single crochet all the way across. There's a 1, there's a 2, there's a 3, there's a 4, chain 1 and turn. Now for this row, we're going to single crochet in the first one. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to skip these next 2 single crochets and single crochet in the last one. Now I'm going to chain 1, turn it, I'm going to single crochet in the first one. In this 3 chain space, I'm going to put 3 single crochets. There's a 1, there's a 2, there's a 3, and then I'm going to single crochet in my last single crochet. And that is it. And we've just created a flap with a buttonhole. I'm going to snip my yarn, pull my hook out, and then I'm going to weave in that yarn. So I'm going to take my little yarn needle. I'm going to run it along the bottom of the row that I just made of all those little single crochets. I'm going to bring my yarn through my needle, pull it on through. Woo. All right, pull it through all those bottom stitches. There we go, and then I'm going to snip my yarn right there. So we have a nice clean finish to our buttonhole. Oh, there we go. We're so close to being finished. Now we're going to flip this over. And we just need to stitch up our unicorn and then add our button. So let's get our needle again. And with the yarn that you left on the top, we're going to go ahead and thread that. And bring our sides together. And I'm just going to stitch this together with a simple whip stitch. So in one side and into the other side and on down, one side then the other side, then the other side then the other side, until you're all the way down to the bottom. All right, and once we are down to the bottom, I like to use the same yarn to go across one side of the gift card holder to close that as well. So I'm just gonna whip stitch along the bottom here too. There we go, and once I'm to the end, I like to take my yarn and run it through the bottom of my stitches of one of the last rows. And then I can just snip it off. And then to stitch up my very last bottom side, I take the very beginning yarn and whip stitch the other side. There we go, and then I will once again just take my yarn and run it along the bottom stitches of that very last row, Or well, actually, this is the very first row, huh? Ooh, there we go. Ooh, some tight stitches. There we go. Snip, snip, snip. Now for the very last thing. So we're going to grab our button and our little slightly smaller needle, so it just has to be able to fit your yarn through it. So to say big enough to fit yarn but small enough to go through your button. So if you're using like a really small button with tiny little holes like this one, I actually used a regular tiny sewing needle and regular thread. So it just depends on what size you are using. This one is slightly larger wooden button, and it has slightly larger holes in it. So our button is going to go at about the third row down. So 1, 2, 3, right in the center. Okay, so I'm just going to bring my yarn up right there in that third row. I'm not going to bring it all the way through. I'm going to leave just a little bit because I'm going to knot it behind my button. All right, I'm going to thread up through my button and then back down and then down through the very center in that third row. There we go. Bring the yarn back up. And down once more. There we go. And now I'm going to tie my yarn behind my button. And then weave my yarn in. I don't want to just snip it because if I cut it too close to that little knot, I don't want my button to come off if that knot were to come loose. So let's run it through the bottom of some stitches before we snip that yarn. And there we go. Just so that it's not cut too close to that little knot, right? And other side, run my yarn through the bottom of some stitches. There we go. Now we can snip it off. Snip. All right. Oh, there's another little yarn end. I think that was from my very beginning there. Okay. Now there's our little unicorn. Oh, now they can be friends. Thanks for joining me, everyone. I hope you had fun making this super easy, super fast, and super adorable unicorn gift card holder. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more like it, hit that subscribe button and you'll see a new video every week. Bye.